Okay, the meeting is in order. What time is it? 10:30? We're going to have a very, very short business meeting, and we have a very important speaker today. We're recording her talk because so we can share it with residents later. Right now, the old Zoom link didn't work on the agenda, and I've sent out the new one by PV Forum. I hope it gets to people in time. Is there?
I'm on and listening. Thank you.
Hello? Who was that?
Mary is on and listening.
Is that Rita?
No, that was Mary Hufty, but I'm on also,
Mary.
Rita Comas Whitney. Thank you. I'm excited to hear this talk.
Oh, thank you. Yeah, Mary is a council member, and she's a council liaison for the committee. So yeah, so am I. I think this is going to be great. So if we don't get a lot of people on Zoom today, we will certainly publicize the talk and have it available. So are there any other public comments first? If not, let's continue. I'm going to change the order of business on the agenda. First is we are really, really sad that we lost Troy Douthit, one of our members, last month. And Troy was a great resource, not a geologist, but was an engineering type person, and always kept us grounded, kept us aware of what's important to normal people. And he was certainly able to follow the technical discussion. So Troy was an incredible asset to the committee, and it'll be very difficult to replace. So after the meeting, Steve brought flowers for Troy's son, and we're going to sign a card for Troy. Thank you, Steve. Okay. Can we very quickly approve the minutes from our last meeting, which was January? Has any comments? Let me know. I hope you've read them.
Sorry, I'm driving. Can you do a roll call?
No, we haven't yet. Okay, roll call.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. All right, Steve?
Steve Ingebrigtsen here.
Pat McCrory here. Nan Shostak here.
Bob Rucky here.
And we have, Gary Ernst should be on the Zoom, but he wasn't able to come today. So we have 4 people, it's a quorum, so we are having a legal Brown Act meeting. Okay. Minutes? Anyone have any comments on the minutes if you've read them? Meeting. Okay, that was the meeting which we had the speaker from PG&E. Okay, no comments? No comments? Okay.
I move that we approve them.
Pardon?
Move that we approve the minutes.
Have above move that we approve the minutes. To have a second?
I second.
All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Then it's approved. Thank you, Pat. Really quickly, let's look at the last 3 pages of the agenda. And I've got a proposed budget for the 25-26 fiscal year. And the major item is a meeting with Cotton Shires. I'm guessing at the $1,300. I'm guessing at the amount of money given the hourly rate that was given by the finance director. So comes in just under $2,000. We'll see what the town council does with it, but we have to submit it to the town council because they're going to have a budget meeting coming up. Okay, and on the next 2 pages, I've got the work plan, which you've seen before in a different format. But it's basically what we had before. It says we are working on, let's see. We're doing research on geologic hazards. We are trying to reach out to other committees. We need to update the geologic and ground movement potential maps, and that would be at the meeting with Cotton Shires. Okay. And then we would like to scan some of the old reports, which have a lot of valuable information and are sitting in hard copy in a box someplace. So that's in a nutshell what we're looking at. Okay, I would like the committee, if it will, if it agrees to approve the work plan and the budget, so I can present to the town manager. Or are there any thoughts? We should have discussion.
I think it looks good. Yeah, I don't have any particular comment.
And Steve?
You
What?
said it looks good.
Oh, you said, okay. Pat, how are you?
Yeah, it's fine.
You okay with it, Bob? Yes, okay. All right. Do I have a motion to approve the work plan and budget for the next fiscal year?
Yes. I move to approve it.
Pat, so moves.
Second?
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Okay, opposed? Okay, so we have approved the work plan and budget for the next fiscal year. Thank you very much. And the only other thing was, where did I put it? Oh, okay. Go back to page 4 on the agenda, where it says the vision, our vision for the Portola Valley. I'm proposing this wording. You can reword it, but the vision is the top of the page 4. And I worded it in a way that makes it clear that Portola Valley is, not that it should be, okay? Portola Valley is a seismically safe and resilient community that has developed the capacity to survive and thrive as a town following a large earthquake. Okay, any thoughts on that?
Just something to think about. I don't have any particular suggestion, Nan, but we've talked about other kinds of hazards that aren't necessarily associated with earthquakes. Like we've talked about floods, landslides. Do we want to be more inclusive of other natural hazards?
Yes, we do. Thank you, Steve. I was thinking earthquakes at the time. Following a, how would you put it?
Natural disaster? But is
Natural-
that too broad? Does that include fire, wildfire? I don't know. But I think we want to be broader than just earthquakes. But
Okay. Bob, do you have any thoughts?
Not yet.
Gary, are you with us?
I'm with you, yeah. Hi.
Mary, hi. Okay, so we're saying Portola Valley is a seismically safe and resilient community that has developed the capacity to survive and thrive as a town following, and a large earthquake is too narrow.
Yeah, geologic, can't you just say geologic events?
A large geologic event?
Yeah,
Is that
yeah,
it?
I think that works too. And what about seismically? I mean,
That
do we
was a
want to
little-
talk? resilience to other,
Just resilient,
just
resi-
safe and resilient?
safe and resilient, okay. So it looks like Portola Valley is a safe and resilient community that has developed the capacity to survive and thrive as a town following a large geologic event. Okay, my fear is that the town, that people would move out after a large earthquake or, some other large geologic hazard. And there wouldn't be enough critical mass to keep us alive as a town, and we'd be resorbed into the county. Mary?
Yes, I hear you.
Okay. Bob, any thoughts? No? Okay, so
Could you read again how you want it?
Okay. Portola Valley, safe and resilient community that has developed the capacity to survive and thrive as a town following a large geologic event.
Disaster? I don't know.
Yeah. Event sort of,
Disaster?
event sounds sort of vanilla to me.
Following a geologic disaster or large geologic event?
Hi, this is Rita.
Hi,
Can-
Rita.
I just want to point out that, you guys work on different issues every single day, not just for an ultimate major disaster, but you actually talk about land movement. Today you're talking about water. Last time it was PG&E. So it's maybe in the beginning, if your mission or your goal of what you say you do is to only prepare for that ultimate disaster, but you do so much more. And if there's a way to capture that in your mission, that would be great, because you're not the emergency preparedness group. You are doing what you do so well, and it's appreciated.
Okay, thank you, Rita. It's a good thought. Yes, you're right. We do have EPC. Why don't we table this until next time and think about it, okay?
Yeah, because there's an education component to what we do.
Yeah, but, okay, but, okay,
I think tabling
We'll talk
this is
about
the,
it.
in terms of time, I think that's
yeah,
a great idea.
great. Okay, let's, put this off till next time. It's not critical today. And, I was going to talk about meetings attended. We can put that off till next time. Just want to say I've met with the interim town manager, and I spoke with I presented our proposed work plan and explained what we've done in the past year to the town council at a town council meeting a couple of months ago. Okay. But there's more, and we will keep everything else for the next meeting. So the discussion of our vision for Portola Valley leads right into our speaker, because Dawn Smithson is the general manager of our Bear Gulch Water District. And she's going to talk about what you said Cal Water, right, has done to prepare for large earthquakes. And that is absolutely critical for the safety of the town. Number one. Okay.
Is this microphone you think? Is it on? No, I'm speaking directly into it. Can everyone hear me? All right, just making sure I'm doing it right. I'm gonna share my screen if that's okay with you. Put up my presentation. I'm gonna put it into presentation mode. See if that works. All right. So thank you everyone for having me today and letting me come speak with you. My name is Dawn Smithson. As was mentioned, I'm the district manager for California Water Services Bear Gulch District. I actually am really excited to be here today. I have, by education, I'm an engineer, but in my bachelor's and my master's degrees, I both have minors in geology. So that just means I know enough to be dangerous.
Mhm.
My sister also, I need to mention this, has her PhD in geology, and I just think she's wonderful. And we have very stimulating conversations where our areas of expertise overlap. So shout out to my sister. I'm going to have to tell her I talked to the Geologic Safety Committee today. So briefly, I'm going to go over who is Cal Water. We have a tendency to confuse people as to who we are because of our model, but I'm going to get into that just a little bit because I think it's a really great model. What is the Bear Gulch District? And then I'm going to talk about our earthquake trainings, preparation, damage prevention, and then our responses that you would expect to see after an earthquake. And then we'll take some questions at the end. Hopefully you don't get tired of my voice before then. So I like this slide. I just want to put it in really quickly. We're larger than a lot of people think we are. And I kind of like that because I like people to think of us as the corner water store, the corner water shop. We want to be that for our customers. We want to see you as we walk into Safeway or Starbucks or Roberts Market. We want to be the ones that you see. But we also have a really large company that backs us up. So the California Water Service Group serves over 2 million people in Washington Water, Hawaii Water, New Mexico Water, Texas Water, and California Water Service. So, right, so we're actually the third largest privately held water company in the United States and the largest that's west of the Mississippi. The largest of the subsidiaries is California Water Service, and you can see here that there's, a lot of districts that we own or operate in California, all the way from Chico to the north to several in Los Angeles. And this is why I really like the model, because you can imagine that our customers in Portola Valley have a very different need than our customers in Bakersfield or Los Angeles or Chico or Stockton. And so we're allowed to operate our districts to meet our customers' needs where they are. And I think it's a really great model. But the reason I'm showing you this is because you see all those little black dots here in California Water Service? If there's an emergency, I snap my fingers and I have thousands of employees driving to me immediately. And I think that that's a great model. Thankfully, I'm going to knock on wood. Thankfully, to date, it's been our employees, my employees, driving to support other districts in their emergencies, but it's there if we need it. So we're going to focus in a little bit more on the peninsula. This is where we are. And I'm just going to talk to you a little bit about this. So this large area here, this is our Bear Gulch Water District. This is where we are. And it's a very large district, 42 square miles. To the north of us, we have the Bayshore District, and it's these separate water districts. And then I guess it's more the east or southeast of us is our Los Altos Suburban District. And I also happen to be the district manager for that district as well. So there's great synergy between those two districts in particular. And then across the bay here, we have our Livermore district. So while I showed you all those little black dots across California, the same holds true for the Bay Area. If there's an emergency, one of us snaps our fingers and we all come running to support. So speaking a little bit more about the Bear Gulch District, I don't necessarily need to read all of the points to you, but we were established in 1936, so we're coming up on our 90-year anniversary. So when I tell you we're part of the community, we've been part of the community for a long time, and we continue to expect to be part of the community for another 100 years. We serve Portola Valley, Atherton, parts of Menlo Park, Woodside, and portions of Redwood City. I always have to stop and think, but I think I got them all. So this is I want to give you a little bit more background on the Bear Gulch Water District. This is our distribution map, just to highlight some of the challenges that we face. So, and a uniqueness about our district. So here are 8 service connections or interconnections that we have with SFPUC. So as you know, a lot of the water in the area comes from San Francisco. That's about 90% of our water. It's very good water, but it's very expensive water, and I think we all know that. So 10% of our water supply comes from a reservoir that we have in Atherton. And that water comes from, I'm going to use my pointer. You see this light blue area right here? This is our 1,200-acre watershed that we have in Woodside. It's closed off to the public and it's protected. And we capture that water in these 2 surface water collection points on the Bear Gulch Creek, and then we flow it to the Bear Gulch Reservoir. The reason why this is important is because it is also very good water, but it is a lot cheaper than the water we purchase from San Francisco. So we try to maximize as much water as we can get locally because we pass those savings directly on to our customers. And I just love these pictures. I think where we work is a beautiful area. This is one of the inlets for the surface water for the reservoir on Bear Gulch Creek. This is our reservoir in Atherton. And here's our surface water treatment plant. And one more thing with the map. I know maps would be boring if it was for anyone else but geologists. I just want to also show that we have our lower elevations, which is, more Atherton and Menlo Park. Then we have our hill zones, which are more Woodside and Portola Valley. And then we have our mountainous regions, which is Skyline. So you can see we cover the gambit of geologic challenges. All right, talking about earthquakes now. When we're looking at what we need to do to be prepared for earthquakes, we have to consider what do we expect to see when there's an earthquake? And then we can address from there. We see shaking, surface ruptures, falling objects, buildings can be damaged, liquefaction, landslides. We all know about landslides in this area. And then damaged infrastructure that you might even not see because it's underground. But then after the earthquake, there's things that we still need to be careful about. The aftershocks, there can be fires down power lines, the roads can be dangerous, buildings can be unstable, people can be panicking, and then we don't know if our communication is going to be working. So these are the reasons why our CEO has designated an earthquake task force at Cal Water. And I think he did this many years ago. I want to say about 10 years ago. So we've actually been able to see the fruits of these efforts. So I'm just going to read our mission statement real quick. It's a mouthful, but it kind of encompasses everything that we believe. So working in a multidisciplinary team, we review available data, past programs, and best practices to ensure our people, systems, equipment, and standards are prepared for earthquakes and that we can respond, assess, and recover our normal operations as quickly as possible. So this is, like I said, this is people who are generated across the company. And you don't need to read this. This is just all of our subgroups. And just wanted to show you that there's a lot of people working on this company-wide, and that's me right there. So trainings, are we ready? Because this is going to be a bit of a journey. Cal Water is so invested in trainings. We train, and we'll start out talking about our tabletop EOC exercises. Every single person in the entire company is trained on an EOC tabletop exercise, from our CEO down to our meter reader. Not that meter readers are the least of us, they're very valuable, but depending on their jobs, everybody goes through a training, and our field employees make it more of a boots on the ground training that's more specific for their responsibilities. But we do this every year, and every year we host a community EOC. And so every elected official should be getting an invitation to all of our EOC trainings, and ours is coming up soon in the Bear Gulch, and we share Bear Gulch and Los Altos Suburban next month. So I like this picture in the front, this picture up at the top. This is from Hawaii Water Service, and this is one of their public utility commissioners also participating in their EOC. And then this is just to show that we follow the SIMS and NIMS emergency management system, and we're all very familiar with these responsibilities. Also, many of us are trained by the state at Cal OES. We went to Sacramento and we were trained there. And this in the red pants, that's me. So I'm also trained at Cal OES. And then we take special care to make sure that our employees are prepared. So they get the emergency response training. You would expect that. Our employees need to know how to respond in an emergency. But we know the best way that our employees can help us is if their families are taken care of. So we provide education for our employees to make sure that their homes are prepared for an earthquake. They have to-go bags prepared. When they come into work, they know what kinds of safety precautions they need to look for, and then also while they're at work. So our mantra is you take care of your family first and then come to work. That by helping you, you help me. I don't want you to come to work if you're going to be worried about your family. Take care of your family, make sure they're safe, and then please come to work as soon as you can. And these were taken at our family day last year. And it's so cute. Another thing that we have that I think is really cool is Cal Water has created an operations rapid response team. So these are kind of like I'm trying to think of the word, like they're like the special forces of water utility. So I forgot to introduce our operations manager, Nate Torsch, who's in the audience with us today. I specifically brought him with me because I know that the Portola Valley audience is very technical and very curious, and I know he'll be able to answer some questions for you at the end. But he's also on this operations rapid response team. These are individuals in the company that have to interview for these positions, and he's a supervisor on this team. These individuals are throughout the company, and they're trained, and I just mentioned a few of these things here, but they can trailer towing, generator operations, pump operations, earthquake preparedness, fire blanket and fire pack training, wildfire, radios. I mean, they go through extensive amount of training, and they're the first ones to be deployed if there is an emergency. And their goal is to create a pool of highly trained, qualified, and capable employees who are equipped, ready, and able to respond to operational emergencies throughout the company. And then we make sure all of our documentation is up to date. And I mentioned this in the training. Obviously, we every year we make sure our emergency response plan is updated. We have hard copies as well as soft copies because we don't know what would be available to us if we have an emergency. But I also want to mention our emergency action guidebook. And I just want to spend a second talking about this. This I think is pretty cool. So it's a flip notebook with little tabs that show different emergencies that you might expect to see in our job as water utility workers, like earthquakes, robberies, medical emergencies. And obviously, as I mentioned, there's one for earthquakes. So you flip to the tab for earthquakes, and it shows you what to do during an earthquake. Clearly, we all read that before the earthquake because you don't want to flip to it during an earthquake. But then if after the earthquake, if you're kind of stuck, you're not quite sure what you should do, maybe you're shaken, emotionally shaken, you flip to this and it will help tell you what you need to do next. Every single employee has one of these either in their vehicle if they're a field employee or at their desk if they're a desk employee. And then every year we participate in the Great Shakeout. So the Great Shakeout, if you haven't heard about it, is just a way for us to be extra prepared for an earthquake. It's at 10/17 on 10/17. It can vary depending on weekends or holidays, weekends, but it's the anniversary of the 1989 Loma Prieta earthquake. And so what we do, we participate in different ways, but we ask every employee at 10/17 to try and find cover. You don't want to be trying to look for cover in an actual emergency. You want to practice and know what kinds of cover you can take if there's an earthquake, where you can go to be safe. If you're just in the middle of your job out at one of our stations, what would you do? And then once you've found shelter, you've realized that you have a place that you could go to to be safe during an earthquake. Then we ask every single employee in the company to look around where you are. Where are you in our job, in our company? What needs to be done to make this where I am safer? Is there a bookshelf that needs to be restrained? And then we all report back what we think we can do to help make our just everyday workplace safer for an earthquake. And lastly, are you tired of our trainings yet? Wait. So lastly, what I wanted to talk about is our day without SCADA. SCADA is very, very cool. Like you can see all of our tanks and our pumps and the levels and what they're running, and you can control it from there. You can run our whole system from that. If there's an earthquake, there's no guarantee that you'll be able to see your whole system on a couple of screens and be able to fix everything. It's been so long since we've had to do it without SCADA. Do we know how to do that anymore? Especially when you have a district as large as ours is that has 50 some odd stations and lots of topography that you have to pump water up in the gravity feed down. You know, that's a lot of visiting. So we practice a day without SCADA. We go to all of our stations. We have to read the tanks. We have to operate the pumps manually. You want to make sure you're not operating pumps against each other. You don't want to blow out any mains, but those are the kinds of things that we need to think about. And so that's what we do on a day without SCADA. Now, those are the things that we do to train our employees. These are the things that we do to prepare for an earthquake. Our goal is to make sure damage is as minimal as possible. We'd rather spend our money in preparation than in response, though I'll get to that too. So our station hardening, as I mentioned, we have 50 some odd stations. That's a lot of our infrastructure. That's a lot of our land is our pump stations, our tank stations. So we make sure, one, that we do our vegetation maintenance every year. That's again really more for wildfire, but we want to make sure that we do our vegetation maintenance. But we want to make sure that everything is safe there. And I chose this picture because it shows a lot of what we do, a lot of the things we do to make sure that our stations are earthquake safe. So you can see this valve over here, that's called a double ball expansion joint. And if you think about it, during an earthquake, that part on the ground really might be moving at a different rate than that part on the tank. So we fit all of our tanks with these double ball expansion joints so that there's no shearing off here and we lose the water. So right here and right here are balls that can move, you know, around. And then in the middle here, see if my mouse will show up. This is more of like a telescoping, so it can move in that direction as too. So this should be able to make sure that this tank stays secure in the event of an emergency. Also, you can see that there's anchors. So not all tanks were anchored when they were built, anchored to their foundation. If there's an earthquake, it really could bounce off its foundation, but these tanks will not because they're anchored. And then again, here's our overflow pipe, and these other pipes are not connected to the ground. There's a gap between there so that if there's shaking, it can move independently. Then I want to talk about our distribution system hardening. One of our major focuses in the company is our main replacement program. We'd love to respond to our aging infrastructure proactively than reactively. And the way we've done that is we've identified every foot of main and given it an assigned risk. Now, obviously, if you have a main that's had 5 leaks on it, that's going to be a candidate for a higher priority, and we'll replace it sooner than later. So that's this category, the likelihood of failure. However, if you have an aging main that's maybe hasn't had a leak on it, but it's getting old and it feeds a dialysis center, or it could put a break could put chlorinated water into a creek with sensitive species in it, that could also be higher on the priority. So all of our mains, excuse me, all of our mains have been prioritized, and we replace about 13,000 feet a year in Bear Gulch. That's a lot. That's why you see us everywhere disrupting your traffic. It is, but it's not as expensive as responding to the breaks after, and you have water damage and property damage, and it's more dangerous for our employees and to get in there and fix things. So this is where we put a lot of our eggs in this basket, and we've seen the benefits from this. This is actually replacing about 1% a year. So this is replacing our mains on approximately 100-year cycle. So following this program, we should replace all of our mains every 100 years, which really should be, I mean, probably more than that. The next thing I wanted to talk about is our earthquake resistant main or restrained joint pipe. So these are pipes that actually have some flexibility in them. And you can see they're more labor intensive. You actually have to do welding on it in order for it to be effective. But these mains lock, the joints lock, and then they can also give. So you push them in a certain amount, but then if the earth moves, it can move with the earth. And then it has some more flexibility like that as well. So this is actually really cool. I'm going to show you a picture of it too. So here's some restrained pipe joints. This whole side of this hill has washed away, but what you can see, hopefully, is that this main is intact. These mains are hanging there, and they are not broken. And so we do that especially when we're in landslide areas. And you know, this area has a lot of landslides. So we take that into consideration every time we put in new main. And then this is also cool. I told you about the double ball expansion joint when I talked about the tank. This is the same technology, but if you're crossing a fault, it works underground too. So if that ground is moving and there's a fault, you can have basically 360-degree movement in that area and it'll protect the main. And we actually have one here in Portola Road when we were bothering you with our traffic disruptions. We crossed a fault and we put in a double ball expansion joint right here in Portola Road. But one of the most important things we do to make sure that we're prepared for an earthquake is that we need to have flexibility. So we have interconnections with other water agencies, which is very important. We support each other, but we also want to make sure we can move water from one part of our system to another. So if you have a tank here and a tank there, I don't know if they can see me. Oh yeah. If you have a tank here, which serves a certain area, and a tank here that serves a certain area, normally these are disconnected. But if there's an emergency and you need more water for this tank, you can put in a valve that's normally closed and open it, and that water can feed this zone immediately, which is also very helpful in wildfires as well. But we can move water around more quickly, and we've been working on this for maybe the last 10 years. We've installed a lot of this type of infrastructure to make sure that we can move water around when we need to. And then our GIS mapping tools have come a long way. So for example, on the left is what our GIS mapping system normally looks like. These are our mains and our stations. On the right is the layer that shows where the landslides are. So if we're doing work in a certain area, we know exactly what we need to be considering when we're working in that area. And the same holds true for this. This is showing us where the liquefaction areas are as well. So we know if we need to put in the restrained joint pipes or what type of technology we should use. And speaking of restrained joint pipes, we need to know where we're putting in restrained joint pipes. Because if you have joints that lock, and then let's say somebody cuts through our main and you replace it with something normal, now that's the weak link. It's not gonna, all that restrained joint is not gonna help us. It'll just pop in that weak link. So now we've identified a way to represent all of our restrained joint pipe on our GIS so that we know exactly what pipe we're working on. And then we have standards for how to make repairs on those types of mains too, so that the integrity of that main is maintained. Okay, so now these are all the things we've done to try and prevent an earthquake. If there is an earthquake, we're going to need to respond. And our goal is to try and, like I said, to make sure that we try and prevent as much as possible. But if there is an earthquake, we need to figure out what's happened. We need a triage. So we've developed a very quick and easy, it's almost even a windshield tour of our systems. Our employees can drive, look for very specific things and triage. Where's our most damage? Where's our least amount of damage? We also don't want employees to be walking around buildings that could be compromised. The structural integrity could be compromised. So this is a very safe, easy, and effective way to get everything assessed as quickly as possible. And then we have specialists in-house that can do further up analysis, and we have consultants on standby to help us as well. Now let's say in an earthquake, we have a main break, highly possible. And we need water. We need water to flow from one place to another. If you have a main break, the water's not going to flow from one place to another. So we have miles and miles and miles of these lay flat hoses. So if there's a break, you can shut off the water on one side, shut off the water on the other side. You can hook this hose up to one fire hydrant on one side, one fire hydrant on another side, and voila, you still have water even though the main is broken. It buys you time to go in and do the repairs and still keep water going to where it needs to be going. And then we have these emergency response trailer units, the ERTUs. We're really proud of those because the brainchild was here in Bear Gulch. This was the former operations manager had this vision. He wanted emergency response trailers that weren't just communication centers. And there's nothing wrong with mobile communication centers, but his vision was He wanted to have people who could be on the ground doing work during an emergency. So in these trailers are enough supplies to sustain 6 employees for 7 days. That's food, bedding, pots, showers, toilets. There's this ATV, and there's tools that can make the most basic repairs that we would expect to need to make in this system. So the ATV is there in case the roads are impassable, but we still need to get to a portion of our system that needs maintenance. So we're really proud. And the 6 is then you'd have 2 working, 2 in recovery, and 2 in standby, right? So, and then when the 2 come back from working, they would go into recovery, and the 2 that were in standby would be able to go out. That's why the 6. And I already mentioned, we don't know what communications will be available when we're after an earthquake. So we have a lot of different options. We have radios in our vehicles, we have portable radios, we have satellite phones. But I'm going to tell you, in the Maui fires, we discovered a whiteboard was the most effective communication, because people would come to the office, they wrote on the whiteboard, I'm going to go check this. And they'd go check it. The next person would come and say, okay, well, this person's checking that. I'm going to go check that. And the person would come back and say, okay, I checked this. This is what I found. Now I'm going to go check that. And it was a very effective tool. So every single district got it in the mail, these huge whiteboards that are, and we have them, because that could really be our most efficient and effective method of communication. And it worked. I have to say it works. Sometimes high tech isn't always the right way to go. And then you would also expect to see our points of distribution, our pods. These are set up to have very efficient distribution. In our case, it would be most likely potable water. So let's say there is a main break, there's a boil order, or we need to get water to our customers. The pods are set up so that cars would line up. We throw a pallet of water in the back of their car. They take off. The next car pull up, put a pallet of water in their car, and go off. So that's what a pod is. It's just a very effective way of distributing, materials. And this is not the reason, but the Erskine fire greatly affected our customers, and Cal Water was there, and we were there for every step of that fire. And we even sent some people from Bear Gulch. And I have to say, when our employees come back from working in a fire, they're different. They've changed. It's impactful. It really is. And I'm really proud that our employees who worked so hard, especially for this fire and others, we were recognized, and we received the NAWC Living Water Award for our response in that fire. Close to the end. I know you guys are probably tired of hearing my voice by now. We have portable generators. Every district has portable generators for, backups, or if there are important generators and they might, if there's failure, we need to have a backup. But the company has 18 portable generators that are just meant to go anywhere in the state that they need to go. And then we've asked for 30 more for this last state case that we submitted in 2024. And hopefully we will find out if we get some more in 2025. Hopefully we get our decision this year. And lastly, we have our Waters on Wheels trailers. These Water on Wheel trailers hold, I wish I could remember the number of gallons, Nate, do you know? 600 gallons of water. So if we have, a business or a facility or something that really can't be out of water, we can hook this trailer up to them and they can stay in water. We'll say, like a medical facility or something like that. However, thankfully, knock on wood, we don't get the chance to use those very often, and we have these wonderful trailers. So our team has punched some beer taps on the outside, and they put in some cooling taps. And we love it. We take it to like art and wine festivals and Earth Day events and places just where people might be dehydrated, but they would love not to pay $10 for a bottle of water, So we get a lot of use out of these in non-emergency situations, and we really like it, and our community and our customers really like it too. So in conclusion, have you gotten the impression yet that emergency preparedness is really important to Cal Water? Is something that we all eat and breathe and live. We know it's part of our jobs. We want to learn from our past, prevent as much as we can, but be prepared for what might happen. And we want to stay as flexible as possible. And this is my daughter. She's 19 now. She'd probably be embarrassed if she knew I put this in the presentation, but it's too cute. So any questions? I'm sure there are lots.
Do you take questions from the Zoom?
Yes, I think so.
Are you aware that Portola Valley Ranch still has a lot of Cal Water supplies for the bypass system that was put in years and years ago? I'm not sure it's been tested recently.
We are aware of that. And if you went, so our operations manager, Nate Torch, is really actually more knowledgeable about that specific than I am. Do you want to hear some more about it?
How could I contact him?
Oh, he's here. He's coming to the microphone right now.
Could you identify who you are, please?
I'm Bob McCowan. I'm at Portola Valley Ranch.
Yes, so in years past, that was a necessity, and it's no longer a necessity to us because we have the hose reels.
Do you want to get your equipment back? We've got a lot of things that I think belong to you stored in our emergency room.
Yes, possibly. Right now, it's not hurting anything. But yeah, since then, we have 600-foot reels on trailers. So we have 600 feet of above ground lay flat hose. We actually purchased 5 miles of it that's stored in our Bear Gulch district. So it's a lot easier than back in the past when we used to have to manually roll it out. We
Do you,
actually have it.
do you have all those fire hoses still stored in the container up near the water tower, halfway up to the water tower?
Yes. Yes.
Can you come and get all the stuff that's out of our emergency room? It's really kind of in our way.
Absolutely. We'll be in
Yes.
touch.
We'll be in touch.
You're going to contact the ranch, or do you want to call me?
I believe we have your contact information.
Do you want, you can just email infobg@calwater.com and it'll get to us.
Info,
BG.
I can't,
Info-
I'm sorry. Could you just,
Info BG for Bear Gulch.
Okay.
BG
Yeah.
at calwater.com. And that'll get to both of us. It'll get to everyone.
I will do that. Thank you very much.
Okay, you're welcome.
Question from the schoolhouse.
Yeah, I just want to know, who do you coordinate with in the town? We had a longtime manager for our town for Public Works, and he's now gone over to another city, Lucky City. But, and then we had an intern person, but we don't have a person. But we see the trucks come into town, and in the past, the neighbors around where the trucks come in would never know that, oh, all of these trucks are going to be there. We understand in case of emergency, but who are you coordinating with the town? And if we as residents have issues, who do we contact? And in an emergency, how do you coordinate with the town? Is it with the Emergency Preparedness Committee, or who is it that you coordinate with?
So you're right. There has been a lot of turnover in the town, and all the phone numbers I have programmed into my phone are slowly getting replaced with the current individuals. So I know initially, we work with the Public Works. We get our permitting done through the process, and that's how we do things that we're planned for, right? But we're meeting people as much as we can to try and get those updated information. Nate, do you want to talk about how we communicate? I mean, I know normally we just go through the normal permitting processes. If you have a question, you can also go to that same infobg@calwater.com, and it'll get to us. Your question or comment or concern will be addressed immediately. You can call our help number, which is 650-561-9709. I don't know if I can write it in the chat.
Okay, could you say that slowly?
650
Okay.
561-9709. And that'll get sent to our customer service representatives, and they'll contact us immediately. So we're very available. It's just, you need to find us online and we'll respond immediately.
9609.
9709. Thank you for clarifying.
To follow on to that, so when there's like a landslide that damages water pipes, you're having to coordinate with like the county public works and stuff, you must have. I'm just curious how that works when
Speak into
We
the-
do.
Directly into
Oh.
the microphone or the tape can't catch you, please.
oh, I thought it was echoing properly. So when there's an issue like a landslide that damages the water pipes and stuff, I'm just curious who you would coordinate for repairs. I assume like county public works or something.
So for town of, Portola Valley, we used to have Howard Young. He was kind of our eyes and ears out here that would notify us. Typically, we would take care of the situation ourselves. We'd notify the town that we are doing so. But you're right, we have lost those contacts in the past. Howard was very in the trenches, if you will, with Cal Water. But it's just going to take a matter of time to rebuild those relationships back up and have a solid footing with someone to contact. Don and I have been in this Bear Gulch for over 20 years. And so we've had made those connections, lost them, but that's not to say we're not going to build them back up. But typically, if there's an emergency, we would always take care of the emergency. We would follow up with the town for permitting after the fact, just to let them know. We do have some areas that we do need to restore, like asphalt and whatnot.
Thank you.
And then the last person I was trying to make contact with, he then left.
Okay, question, Nate? Actually, a couple of questions. So if the San Andreas Fault itself moves, ruptures through Portola Valley, and it'll rupture for, past Portola Valley also, it'll affect a major part of your district, north and south of here. But just focusing on Portola Valley, there's 3 places where I think you have planned to bridge the fault crossings with your flat blue hose.
Actually, yes, in the event, if an event of emergency happens, we're hoping that the mains that we installed over the years, Portola Valley, we installed a 16-inch earthquake resistant pipe, similar to what Don showed you. I was talking to the gentleman here this morning. We have areas in which we place 8-inch fire hydrants along the San Andreas Fault. So if the pipe is to rupture, we could valve off that section that is ruptured and jump the system. We have what they call wildfire hardening projects that come to the town. You might see them. Those are wildfire hardening projects are great. Let me explain it. They're titled in which everyone seems to focus on the fire aspect of it, but it actually helps us even throughout our normal business days, moving around water, installing valves, 2-way valves, installing new main. Just did a project on Mora Vista and Escobar, where that in the event one of our zones goes out, the other zone could support it. Willowbrook did the same thing over here on Willowbrook Road. Let's see here. We have a interconnection on Sand Hill Road now with the city of Menlo Park. Countless amounts of that 13,000 foot of main, countless amount of that is earthquake resistant pipe. And we all planned it so that in the event we do have a break at the fault line, we could jump it. And then lastly, we would come in and jump it with a blue hose if need be.
Okay, how much blue hose is there here, or would you have to truck it in?
No, I have it in our field yard.
It's actually here.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah. It's actually 6-inch potable hose. It's actually pressure rated for 350 pounds of pressure. We bought 5 miles of it, and what I call the lion's share is right here in Bear Gulch.
Okay, is that enough? I'm concerned, especially, about 2 things. One is fire following earthquake, and the second is domestic water supply, the continuity of water, potable water. So with your bridging hose, would the fire department, fire district have enough water pressure
Yes.
to put out
So
fires?
it's the volume of water is what where the pressure is a constant. If all our stations are running, it's the volume of water that what will slightly lose, because out here we have a 16-inch and a 20-inch main along Patrol Road. But what we did is we engineered that pipe to withstand an earthquake. So a lot of the projects we've done, we put in that already in our planning. Two-way ball valves, EBA fittings. We even put our earthquake resistant pipe in areas that are not near the fault, but near landslides and potentially old landslides that we have maps for. So knock on wood, if everything goes as planned, we really shouldn't have to see us rolling out that blue hose.
Okay, thank you. Yeah, so with the earthquake resistant pipe, how much lateral displacement, because we've got a strike slip fault here, how much lateral displacement would you expect it to be able
Well,
to
each
stand?
fitting has somewhere 14 to 17 degrees of deflection. But it would, to put your mind in the kind of like ease, the earthquakes that happened in Japan, and that's where really this technology started coming from. The earthquakes in Japan, Don showed you one landslide. There's numerous pictures of showing thousands feet of main dip down, like the whole earth is removed, and there is just a 20-inch main hanging in the middle of in the air. And that's what that technology, that same pipe is what we have out here.
So over a short distance, it might not be able to flex enough, but over a longer distance, if you have the flexible joints placed, I don't know, every so often, that the pipe ought to be able to accommodate the displacement.
It's each fitting is that flexible joint.
And is it, how much do we have, where do you have
The
it
main
here?
thoroughfares right now that we looked at was Portola Road, Sand Hill Road. Of course, we have it on Alpine Road. And then we have some, what they call, like we said, wildfire hardening projects, Willowbrook, Escobar. It's funny, we almost need a presentation for you folks to show you our wildfire hardening projects we've done. Because I'm up to over 20 now that I've installed throughout the town, just the town.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, well,
And with that, it's, I don't know if it's the right place or not, but with that, we have a lot of strength and conditioning to our stations that we're doing. We're rehabbing a lot of our stations within the town and the county, Los Trancos being one of them. We have Station 17 right up here, Alpha Sioux. So all that whole tank site is going to get, what like Don showed you with the emergency and earthquake resilience pipe and EBA fittings. They're not called EBA fittings anymore. They're called ball valves. Sorry, Don. EBA's manufacturer. Tie downs. So we have a lot of those projects going. Hard to get permits.
okay, thank you.
Okay.
Yeah, good to know. Yeah, so I feel better protected than I did half an hour ago. Okay, Steve?
Well, I wanted to start by saying thanks to both of you for great presentations. I've thought for a long time that our utilities are sort of the unsung heroes of modern society, and the presentations by you two and Jeff Bachubel of PG&E last time sort of confirmed that. I mean, you guys are thinking about these issues all the time, and you have great long-term plans. As Nan said, it's very reassuring. And I'm totally convinced that you're on top of these things. But I am going to bring up, Dawn, I warned you that we had this background reading. San Mateo County Grand Jury 3 years ago did this fairly long report on the seismic resilience of the water systems countywide, and they were uh, somewhat critical. You felt like maybe they didn't have the whole story. Do you want to say just a word or two about that?
Sure, I would. This report, I actually have it with me too. I've read it also and make sure I'm speaking into it. And, I know that they did interview some individuals from Cal Water during this investigation. And I'm not exactly sure. I've looked into the numbers that they've used and I've asked around to see where in the company, I've asked around to see where they got these numbers. I'm not exactly sure where the numbers came from. I'm sure that they had something that they felt was reliable to quote. And then also of the 12 agencies that they interviewed, Cal Water was not asked to provide a response, and all the other agencies were, and they were invited to say whether they agreed or disagreed with the assessment. And so, excuse me, Cal Water hasn't provided a response, although we probably would disagree because, I specifically have asked our asset management team to verify the claims in the report. And I've been confirmed that we have 3 days worth of water supply in the company and in the district. And not just that, but it didn't take into consideration the fact that our reservoir has, what I think is like a 50 million gallon dead pool that we don't normally access because of the hydraulics through our treatment plant, but we can, if we need to, we can install additional pumps and we can access that water. And we're also, in the event of an emergency, we're also pursuing a 4 million gallon tank, also at our Bear Gulch Field Yard. So we are working on additional supply, but we do feel like we have 3 days of supply in the district. As far as 3 days supply of fuel, I also asked asset management to do an assessment and they determined that we have 2.5 days worth of supply, but not taking into consideration that we have portable generators that have their own fuel supply. So if you take that into consideration, we could move that fuel. It's in our presence. It can move it from one location to another. If you take that into consideration, we have 3 days worth of fuel. Some stations even have 7 days worth of fuel, but every station has at least 2 days worth of fuel. So that's another thing that I thought maybe wasn't represented accurately. The trainings, it says something about just not completing our trainings per our emergency response plan. I think I showed today. We do our trainings and we do them ad nauseum. So I'm not sure why it was represented that we weren't. So I can't speak to the report. I do, like, as I mentioned earlier, I think these are great areas to focus on, and they continue to be a focus for us as we go into other rate cases, because these are areas that we do need to consider. But I'm not sure that the light on Cal Water in the report was as accurate as we would hope if we had the opportunity to respond.
Thanks. That's a great response. And I just want, because this is one of the background documents we found online when we were preparing for this meeting, I thought, wanted to encourage you to give your perspective. Thanks.
Right, and to the point we were making earlier, kudos to the county for looking into this. This is not something that, they would necessarily have to or be expected to do, but thank you to the county for thinking that water supply is that important and it was worth their time to look into. Another question? Thanks.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm Bob Rucky, and I'm very impressed with this presentation. I'm very grateful that you've come. I'm very grateful for what both of you have said. I had certain expectations as to what you were doing, and you did exceed my expectations. The information about the expansion joints and how you're putting them in is the kind of news that we want to hear, and thank you very much. Our committee has put together a map that I should have brought today, and I didn't. It's totally my fault, but I wish to get it to you today, tomorrow at the latest. But it has on it faults that are not on other maps that we're aware of. And we've been doing that research on what happened in 1906. And so wanted to let you know where those are, because that's the kind of thing where or even faults where we expect them to be. And knowing that you have a sister that has a PhD in geology is good news to me. So, yeah, I'd like to share that with you, and we'll just see what happens.
We would love to have access to that.
Yeah,
Thank you.
absolutely.
Let's be in
Thank you.
touch. Yeah, thank you.
I should add that it's a map of potential faults, not everything will rupture at once, but the faults on the map, the secondary faults in the map are all capable of being triggered by a major rupture of the San Andreas.
Yeah, that's fantastic.
Hearing the expansion joints in the flat pipe, that was good news. Thank you very much.
You're welcome. You're welcome. Christy, did you have a question? I saw that your hand was up. I can't tell if it's.
Yes, thank you. I'd like to know where all the restrained pipes are in Portola Valley. I noticed your picture showed another community and not a Portola Valley map. So I'd like to know where what's around my house. Are they double expansion joints or are they restrained pipes? And I think that's important for the residents to know. And then you say you've done them on Portola Road. I happen to live on Alpine Road. If you can describe where because I think Alpine Road is a very important area to also do double expansion joints. And can you describe where those were is my first question. And then I do know that Howard left a year ago, and then we had Jovid, who was a contractor that left a month ago. So we really need you to have a local contact if we were to go through a disaster. So that's an immediate need. And then my third thing was if the Portola Valley Ranch has really important supplies, hose supplies, I was noticing in LA that those that had a generator and a hose and a pool, they were able to save their house possibly if they had those on site. So should our SERP committee be considering keeping those and locating them at different pools in different areas of our town? And could we use the supplies if the water department will not be using them? I don't know if they're outdated, but those are my three questions. And then if there was an earthquake, who's assigned to come directly to us to manage that? Do we have a name, a number? Looking at those LA fires where hydrants weren't working and were on hills and they were going dry, and what should we count on if at the bottom of a hill it can't be pumped to the top of a hill? What's your solution there? Thank you.
Okay, I'm gonna let Nate answer some of your questions for you. As far as who would be responding, we have someone on call 24/7. So that's the purpose for having all of our employees trained. We have someone actively on duty from 5 in the morning till 9 at night, and then we have someone on call 24/7. So there is always someone available. It may not be a specific person. And we always have a supervisor on call as well. And then I am always on call, always. So Nate, you want to answer some of her other questions?
Yeah, as far as the restrained pipe, engineering looked into the major thoroughfares. So almost like the big arteries. So I can't tell you specifically where it is on Alpine Road, but the biggest arteries we have are from Mountain Home Road, Whiskey Hill Road, Sand Hill Road, onto Portola Road, all the way to Alpine. That's our biggest arteries that we move water. We call it moving around the horn. So we really beefed up that so we could now move water from north to south. Typically, we used to move water from the other way, from the south to the north. It's usually the larger arteries, the bigger size mains that have the restrained fittings and the restrained pipe. It would be nice to come back here again and to show you on a map all the earthquake resistant pipe we put in over the 20 years. And then over the past 5 to 6 years, how many wildfire hardening projects we have. The reason why I say that is you gave an analogy, if you were to lose water or a pump and you lose the ability to pump up a hill. So we put a lot of valves and a lot of generators and portable generator hookups in the event should something like that happen. Before we used to move water uphill and it sat uphill. Now we have the ability to move water back down. So if you're familiar with Los Trancos, we did over 6, 7 projects in the last 5 years up in Los Trancos, and that gives us the ability to actually pump all the way to the furthest reaches of that Station 39. That water would be up there. Residents wouldn't really use that water, especially during times of winter. So to keep that water fresh, we actually have moved it where we have the ability to move it down the hill. So we have that, which is huge. We're doing that right now on Old La Honda Road Station. So we pump up Old La Honda Road all the way to Skyline, and we have the ability through our valving to take that water and move it back down if need be. So it's a lot of resilient projects we've been working on. What else did you ask? I think we would have to have another meeting so we just show all the restraint pipe you have it in the town of Portola Valley. I would say you would have the majority because of the fault crossings and the amount of the diameter of mains we have. Did I answer that?
Thank you. Are you saying the majority of restrained pipe or majority of the double expansion joints?
Well, the double expansion joints, look at each joint as being an expansion joint in earthquake. Don showed a picture of it. They're allowed, it's like a telescoping joint. So each joint that goes together is allowed to deflect, and it's allowed to expand and contract every single joint. The hydrants are rigided, but as far as the amount of, it's just the amount of earthquake resistant pipe we've done. I would say the majority is in Portola Valley because of the size main and because of our operational needs to pump water, like I said, around from Station 20 and then have the ability to pump up to Los Trancos.
So is this drinkable water or is this water, I guess, coming out of the hydrants, I guess?
No, that water you see out of the hydrants is potable water.
Okay, thank you.
Do we have any other questions? Anyone on Zoom have another question?
I have just curious. So year to year, the geologic hazard you're responding to would be landslides mostly. I mean, you're preparing for catastrophic wildfires, catastrophic earthquake damage, but year to year, would it be landslides and liquefaction too? Maybe?
I mean, almost, minute by minute, we're looking at landslides because we're constantly doing improvements. And every time we look at the improvements that need to be made, there's all of Portola Valley. I make the joke that everything in Portola Valley is a landslide. It's an old landslide, a young landslide, a happy landslide, a sad landslide, like it's some kind of landslide. So we take that into consideration when we do any type of improvement. So that's why I think landslides are actually something that, we have to think about almost daily when we're doing our normal work. Yeah, earthquakes are something that we more, plan for, and we have programs and things like that. Makes sense. Thank you.
I have a question. It's Bob McCowan again.
Hi, Bob.
This was very, very useful. Unfortunately, I learned about it late and I only saw half of it. Has Zoom been recorded?
We're recording, and I will send out on PV Forum, Snan Shostak here. I'll send out a message with the link for the recording.
Thank you very much. It'd be much
It was
appreciated.
recorded from the very beginning.
I have one more question, if I can ask it. When would we find out if the 30 portable generators would be, that you will get them?
Good question. It really depends on when we get a decision from the Public Utilities Commission. And so that's, you know, we don't have a specific date. But when that decision comes out, we'll know,
Okay, thank you.
hopefully this year.
Can I follow up on that question? I think the PUC hearing outcomes and even deliberations are online too, right? At some point, I feel like we found some of those things when we were
A lot of
background.
a lot of it is public. So we filed our rate case in 2024, and then now we're going back and forth with they have questions, requests for information. We're answering those questions now, and then they'll put together a recommendation for the judge to consider, and then the judge will either make tweaks to that or abide by what I think they're called the Office of Ratepayer Advocates. It's changed a few different times over the last few years. And then, or the judge can come up with their entirely new decision, which is actually what happened last time. So we're not sure what we'll find.
I feel like if you Google PUC and Bear Gulch, you'll find some of this dialogue.
A lot of it is public. What we file is public.
Okay, are there any more questions? If not, I would like to thank Dawn and Nate both for a wonderful presentation and all this really useful information. Yes. Thank you both for taking the time to come and speak to us. And as I said, the recording of the session will be available to the rest of the town. Okay.
Well, thank you so much for having us. We're happy to be here.
I make a
The
motion.
meeting, yeah, we need to adjourn the meeting.
I make a motion to adjourn.
Second?
I will second it.
Okay, Pat seconds. All in favor of adjourning? Aye.
Aye.
I
Okay. Opposed? We're adjourned. Okay.